Hello everybody, this is Monstertaming coming at you with another Kindred Fates video. This time we're going to be looking at the patch notes for Alpha Patch 2.1. So, without further ado, let's get right in. This time we've made improvements to shielding, dodge, dash attacks, AI, and performance. For Slide Remains is a new ability to try called Counter, and to top it off, we made balance changes to account for dodge, rework, and fixed several notable bugs. Before we get in, I have not had a chance to actively play and test this update just yet. So everything that I'm going to be telling you guys about my opinions is just that. It's just blatant, raw first impressions of just reading the text and a little bit of secondhand knowledge I've gotten from some people that have played it. So, gameplay changes. The general improvement. Shields is no longer an ability. It is a dedicated button, just like dodge. It is bound to the control key by default. Now, I think that shield is way better as a dedicated button and rather than an ability, but at the same time, I think that's going to make it very hard for kinfolk like Lumala because you charge up Righteous Light and that thing has such a ridiculous charge time that you're essentially never going to hit it if your opponent's paying attention and they just pop shield because they can literally just hold shield and not even have to think. They just see you do the animation and then shield lasts long enough that they hold it until you fire. And it's pretty much over then. And it's kind of a similar story with explosion, just not as obvious as Righteous Light. So that's going to take away a lot of damage from the game. Like those really big attacks like that aren't going to be able to hit nearly as often. You can now enter practice room wish offline, which is good. There's nothing negative I can think about that. Attacks will receive optimization pass and local testing. Our frame rate from around 10 while fighting also have been NPCs in the practice room to over 60 in PvP. You can expect to see improvements while fighting against other players with lots of attacks happening at the same time. And now we have what I consider to be the real meat of the update, the dash. Oh, not dash attacks, dodging. I was sorry about that. I misread it. So this is the dash attack improvements. Dash attacks are now frame rate independent and more smoothly move the character. Dash attacks no longer travel through objects. Instead, they travel along the obstacle if the angle is shallow enough, and they travel upward slopes without the length of the dash being reduced. Improvements have been made to bounce so it's more usable from the ground. And players can now aim lower with mounts and not stop on the ground prematurely. And then we have AI improvements. Added pathfinding so NPCs chase the player around obstacles and fight in tight spaces. Removed 6 seconds of AI startup timer so NPCs are now active as soon as they respawn. Increase the speed at which NPCs enter combat after being attacked by the player. NPCs use line of sight with the player to determine their behavior. Upon losing line of sight for a short duration, they will now move to the last place they saw the player until either line of sight is recovered or an aggro timer times out. Fixed a bug on Slifer that was causing all of the NPCs to become unresponsive, which forced the player to restart the practice arena to reset the NPCs. And AI now illustrates its behavior more clearly by always showing a yellow question mark above its head when suspicious or red exclamation point when entering combat. All just general very nice improvements. Now for balance changes. All dodge speeds, lengths, and iframes have been completely reworked. This is something that I can really only say we're going to have to play around with and find out because that is going to change the game like on a fundamental level. Maybe as much as being able to move an attack did, which could be a very good thing because being able to move an attack made the game way better. Shovel's basic attack has been increased by speed has been increased by 50%. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Poor Shovel's basic attack was almost useless. Slifer's dodge stamina cost has increased. That's fine. I'm assuming that's to do with the new dodge changes. Skulkin's dodge cost is reduced, which is good. Poor Skulkin did not he wasn't able to dodge very effectively, and his special defense was lowered from 100 to 95, which is sad because I don't think Skulkin needed a nerf because he was already pretty squishy. Except maybe they're doing it to compensate for he's gonna have shield now. Maybe that would make sense, I guess. Now we have counter. Null type, base power, question mark, times 2, physical. the user assumes a defensive stance for 1 second. If they're hit by either a physical or special attack during that time, the user absorbs the attack's energy, channels it back towards the source with a vicious slash. The slash's power is equal to 2 times the power of the original attack, usable by Slifer. So this ability is either going to be one of the best abilities in the entire game or one of the worst abilities in the entire game, depending on if it works on ranged attacks. If it's only melee, it's going to see essentially no use. If it can be used with ranged attacks, then you're going to have a really bad time fighting Slifer if you try to hit a Slifer with an explosion or a righteous light, and the Slifer player is very quick on the uptake and can pop counter. If they get good enough, kind of like parrying from Dark Souls, Slifer will be a true force to be reckoned with. And then some bug fixes. Fix the bug with a visual effect signifying whether a buffing ability has been successfully applied to buff the character, always played, regardless of whether or not the kinfolk attempt to buff themselves was interrupted and prevented from receiving the buff. Good. That was something I never knew if I had actually got a buff off or not when there was an attack really close to the end, so that's very good. Most instances have an issue that allows Slifer to turn while using swipes to hit his opponents when they were out of missed. Fix the bug that caused AI to respawn with smaller awareness. Fix the bug that blows pro to use fling while stunned. Fixed an issue that caused the AI that embarrass AI to stun themselves very frequently when using shield. Fixed an issue where heal, revive, and damage beacons weren't functioning properly in practice room. Fixed an issue where Shovel's AI had no name. Now it's Shovel, but I'm pretty sure they added that, by the way. Currently known issues. Currently, there's no visualization to display how much kinfolk stats have been raised or lowered during combat. We plan to add visualizations to address this in future patch. That would be amazing. When your party is revived if they all die, the first kinfolk in your slot will not be revived in the practice room. Some visual effects for Crush do not properly display in the practice room. The damage descriptions for several abilities do not have tick damage, show a total damage amount. Occasionally, players with low ping do not turn to the current starting 15 rounds. Large AoEs currently only damage 1 minion at a time. On rare occasions, one team member begins the round with abilities locked. Occasionally, attempting to cancel search for a game results in a matchmaker locking up, and oftentimes, teams cannot be edited while searching for a game. None of these are particularly bad except for some of the practice room ones. But at the same time, the practice room being glitchy, I can live with that because there's nothing really at stake. It's you're at your complete leisure, and if something messes up, you can restart it with absolutely no issue and get right back in. You don't have to wait for queues or anything. You don't have anybody else that you're disappointing by having your game mess up or anything like that. So practice room bugs are not the biggest deal, but the only bug I really saw with the big deal was the poor people with the low ping, but they probably have bigger problems of not returning to their starting position if they have really bad ping anyways. But this has been Patch Notes 2.1. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day. Please leave a comment below of how you like the new changes. And I'll see you all next time. Goodbye. God bless. This is Monstertaming signing off.